is Dr. Sabeel Ahmed. Dr. Sabeel Ahmed is the Executive Director of the Gain Peace Project, an outreach project of the Islamic Circle of North America. And Dr. Sabeel is currently a member of the ICNA, or Suriname National, and is leading their national task force to tackle Islamophobia. As a Director of Gain Peace, Dr. Sabeel's aim is to bring out the commonalities and build bridges between people of various faiths, races, and nationalities, and share the beautiful faith of Islam with our fellow Americans. Some of the projects of Gain Peace include advertising the message of spirituality in Islam via bus, billboards, trains, TV, radio, and newspapers. Dr. Sabeel has given many outreach presentations and workshops in various cities in the USA on the topics of Sharia, freedom of speech, comparative religion, and youth empowerment. And he is here tonight with us to speak on that matter of how to talk to our colleagues and classmates and our neighbors who are non-Muslim about the message of Islam. So without further ado, Dr. Sabeel Ahmed.
We're good to go? Yes. All right, Bismillah, Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in amma ba'd. Everyone, welcome. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. It's been 4 years since I came over here. I believe 2018 when I was here the last time.
Yes.
I was mentioning to Brother Mu'in and the rest of the leadership over here. This community is quite blessed to have such unity, such closeness, so many resources, and so many opportunities. It's one of the unique communities. So I hope and pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to use these opportunities to learn, practice, and to share this beautiful deed with all of humanity. Ameen. So the topic which I chose for the next 1 hour, obviously I want to take as many questions as possible and make it engaging as much as possible, is the topic of Dawah skills. But the biggest thing, the biggest takeaway message from today is that Dawah or sharing Islam is easy. If there is hesitation from our side, it is our weakness. But Dawah, when you do it, it's quite easy. It can be done anywhere to anyone as long as we use hikmah and customize the message. So, went to Houston, no, New Jersey actually. We were coming back from New Jersey, all right? From the Shadi. We were coming back from New Jersey after a wedding invitation. So I went there with my 3 sisters. So they were sitting, 2 of them, they were sitting one window, one middle. And then I was sitting on the other side in the middle seat, and next to me was my other sister. So sitting next to me on the right side was a Jewish person, about maybe 25, 26 years of age. And sitting on the other side, the aisle, next to my 2 sisters, was a person from the Catholic faith. Obviously you may be wondering, okay, Brother Sabeel, how do you know this person is Jewish and that person is Catholic, right? Obviously, I started the conversation, I broke the ice, I conveyed the message. So that was before and this is after. So you may be thinking, okay, what happened? If they were sitting the other side, how come we are all sitting together? So it so happened that I broke the ice and I started speaking to that guy who is Jewish. All right? He started really interested. He said he's a secular Jew and he's a liberal Jew. So that started the conversation. So the way I broke the ice with that person, once he mentioned this, that he's from the Jewish faith, I asked him this question, or I made him curious. Do you know that the greatest prophet of the Old Testament is the most mentioned prophet in the whole Quran? Wow. So who do you think that is? Yeah, Musa alayhi salam, right? Make the person curious. Suppose if I'm sitting like one day I was traveling, not sure, Houston, somewhere from Chicago. Next to me there were 2 Catholic ladies. How do you know they're Catholics? Does it say up there? Because conversation got started. And I asked them this question. Okay, who do you think is the only lady mentioned in the whole Quran? And they said, we know the answer. They said Maryam alayhi salam, right? I said, all right, good, you guys are very good. Then I asked them this question. Okay, how many times do you think she's mentioned in the Quran compared to the Bible? They were not aware of that, right? So I said 34 times in the Quran and only 18 times in the Bible. And then I mentioned to them, right, in a humorous way, we Muslims love her more than you do. They started to crack up. So today we were having lunch, and one of the brothers, he asked this question. Okay, how do you break the ice? He said, I'm a physician. I want to convey Islam to my patients. How do you, there are so many policies, we cannot speak about Islam and about work. We cannot speak about any religion or politics to begin with, right? How do you break the ice? Or how do you share Islam with them? I mentioned to him. Half of Dawah is done once you make them curious and they ask you the questions. And that's what exactly that I do when I'm conversing, whether matter plane, train, ship, automobile. So if Dawah can be done on the plane, it can be done anywhere. All right, so quick wrapping up this story, right? So he became interested and we were conversing, and this guy was sitting on the other side and my two sisters were next to him, right? So after looking at me sharing message with this Jewish person, my older sister, right? So she mentioned to this guy that, that's my brother. He's discussing Islam with this other person. Are you interested? So he said, yes. So then she said, okay, why don't you switch the seat with my sister who was sitting here? And then he came and he sat over here. So for the next 1 hour, we were discussing Islam. Look at this. One side is a Jewish person who they claim to be their Messiah. All right? Then the two opposites were sitting next to me. One don't believe in Jesus, peace be upon him. One absolutely believe in him, right? And me, we have the moderate view that him as a prophet. At the end of the day, Dawah is easy. Even though they did not convert it to Islam, but that's not my job, right? We convey and we pray and we share Islam using hikmah. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran. Surah Nahl, ayah number 125. ادعو إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة وجادلهم بالتي هي أحسن. And the ayah continues. That invite all to the way of Allah with wisdom and good preaching and converse with them in ways which are best and most gracious. So Dawah is not just giving information to them. So if I have a mathematical equation for Dawah, it goes like this. Information plus invitation equals Dawah. So it's not just informing them. By the way, what you see up here, this white paper, is actually a napkin that they gave along with the presents. And I want to give them a visual about Islam. So I was taking out my pen and drawing to let them understand the history of Islam, connection of all the prophets with the one message. Who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? What are the guidance? What is the way for salvation? So I want to teach them visually, and what I had, nothing except that napkin, right? So be it. So Dawah is easy, right? So that's the main message. That's the kind of the take-home message for each single one of us. So when we take a look at all of these prophets and the messengers, as I mentioned in my khutbah today, is that they are defined not by, suppose if I have to define with one sentence the main mission of all the prophets and the messengers, I would not say that their main mission was to enjoin good and forbid evil, or the main message is to be good to the neighbors, or the main message is to gain education. They did all of that. But if I have to have one sentence summary, which is the message of all the prophets and all the messengers, is that they were assigned by Allah to connect the creation with the creator. That means to invite humanity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there is a Quranic ayah. So the Baqarah ayah number 143. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioning to all of us, He's saying, وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا لِتَكُونُوا شُهَدَاءَ عَلَى النَّاسِ وَيَكُونَ الرَّسُولُ عَلَيْكُمْ شَهِيدًا. That you are made an ummah justly balanced, that you become witnesses to humanity, the way the messenger of Allah is a witness over you. No new messenger is to come, no new prophet is to come. That assignment is not for each single one of us. It's a humongous assignment. It's a big honor. It's an excellent reward if we fulfill it. inshallah, right? So that is important. Many a times we worry about Islamophobia. I say that Islamophobia is nothing but a reaction to our inaction. We are inactive, they are uneducated, and the outcome of their uneducation is that Islamophobia. So if we have to tackle Islamophobia, we need to educate them. So what should be the mindset of a person who's sharing the message? I am a parent. How many of your parents, maybe also grandparents, right? How many parents over here? Asha. All right. And many sisters too. Just like when we are a parent, there are so many things that we do for the love of our parents. We are concerned for them. We direct our resources, right? We may have sleepless nights, making sure that our children, our youth, families growing up here in this country, they have a good future, good future. Deen-wise, dunya-wise, any which way-wise, we want them to be strong in deen and be impactful in the society. In the same way, just like parenting is a state of mind, you don't have to wake up in the morning and say, let me be a parent today from Fajr to Isha. Right? You don't do that. I mean, when you have your first child, now it becomes innate inside of you 24/7. We are a parent. In the same way, Dawah should be a state of mind. Dawah should not be, once a year we have this Dawah open house. Or once a month or once a week we have this Dawah table in some supermarket. Or let's go out and distribute brochures. Dawah is not just an activity, it's a state of mind. And if you take Dawah as a state of mind, anything that we do now, we are looking for Dawah opportunities. If you go to a grocery store, buying grocery becomes now secondary. Now you're identifying how you can break the ice with the clerk up there, with the person bagging our grocery, right? With the person walking up there. You want to break the ice, so that becomes your primary mission. If you're at your work becomes secondary. You still have to do work, but you're identifying what can I do to make the people interested so they can ask questions, right? So Dawah is a state of mind. So if I'm going to ask you this question, let's make it a bit engaging. Suppose people who don't do Dawah, right? MashaAllah, many of you may be sharing the message. For people who don't convey the message, what do you think can be one or a few of the excuses people give? Go ahead, mention that. What can be one excuse people give? Go ahead. Too busy. What would you say? Felt shy sometimes, right? Who else would like to take a shot? Not confident, don't know what to say, right? Maybe lack of knowledge. So many excuses people have. So when some person who says that, I don't have enough time, what I would say is, let's have better time management, right? I would direct them to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The busiest man in history, he was able to balance taking care of his spouses, his children, right? Neighbors, military leader, messenger of Allah, leader of the society, educator of the society, counselor of the society, right? Training the new Muslims, empowering the born and raised Muslims. Any which way he was able to, and then obviously he was connecting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the best way possible. So time management skill is really important for all of us. Secondly, I would say, for the sake of money, for the sake of name and fame and impacting society, you have the Jeff Bezos of the society, the Warren Buffets, the Elon Musk of the societies. They all have 24 hours. If there is one common denominator between every human in the history of humanity, it is 24 hours. Everyone is given exactly the same time. Is that not so? Then how come some people can achieve more compared to someone else? When people say we don't have time, I'm reminded of the Shadi Dawats, right? The marriage ceremonies, correct? If you are invited, we take out time. We take out time from so many activities. Even if the Shadi, which was for 5 days and 4 days and 3 days, we take out time. I just heard today on the lunchtime that there is a India-Pakistan match is going to happen. When is that?
Sunday.
When?
Sunday.
Sunday, right? Are you going to take out time for it? We will take out time. I mean, I don't watch as much, but we take out time when we have to. Correct? If our kids are going and having some soccer practice, we take out time. If we have to, we take out time. Dawah is the best time that we can take out for. I'm not saying that every person should become a 24-hour da'i and give up your job. What I'm saying is every single person can take out some time. If you sleep for 8 hours, sleep for only 7 hours and 30 minutes. Take out that half an hour. Add that up for the whole week, for the whole month, for the whole year. Literally, there can be many hours that we can spend. What I'm saying is, if we want to, we can take out time, right? When somebody says that I don't have enough knowledge, and that's one of the excuses, that let me make myself better, and then, inshallah, let me work on other people. I have many, many stories. Today, whether Irfan was mentioning one story. Even though I have many stories, let me just mention that story. So there is a Jewish person, for some contract, he went to some Muslim country. And he was passing in the bazaar, and there were many bookstores. So every single day when he passes by, this bookseller who does not speak a single word, well, actually he speaks one word of English. All right, not a single word. He speaks one word of English, and each single time when non-Muslims pass by his bookstore, he takes out an English translation and he displays it in their face, and they say, "This is good. This is good," right? That's all he says, and people they just pass by. So this Jewish person one day he asked his friend, "What is he saying? And what is he displaying?" So the Muslims who was with the Jewish person, they said, "This person, there is a copy of the Quran, and he's saying that this is good, and he wants you to take it and read it." And then he took the copy of the Quran just to satisfy the bookseller. Long story short, he took the copy, he read it, he liked it. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. Only one thing that he knew is that good, right? That's all in the English language. And then he had an impact. One more story I can give is, after the Maghrib prayer in the Chicago MEC Masjid, we were about to leave, we were just hanging around in the lobby area. The door opened and in came a non-Muslim sister. We said, "Welcome to the masjid, how can we help you?" And then she said, "I came today to embrace Islam." Right? Said Allahu Akbar. And then we took her to the ladies section, and mashallah, she had a few questions. They went over Islam, and then she embraced Islam, and they asked her this question, "Okay, what made you interested?" And then she said, "I have a Muslim friend. Whenever I go to her home, her 13-year-old daughter, she recites for me Ayatul Kursi. And then she recites the meaning of Ayatul Kursi. I'm so touched by the oneness of Allah, by the attributes of Allah. It made me so interested, I started to read the Quran. And now today I came to embrace the message." So all of us, we have enough knowledge. We need to package it and wisdom based upon the person, the circumstances, what to say, what not to say, and then convey the message. Leave the results to Allah. Try your best. If they ask you questions, if you don't know the answer, go home and do the research. They are qualified people, the imams, the people in the field of people of experience. Ask them, inshallah. There are so many resources. I would say in the history of humanity, this is the most resourceful society in the history of humanity. Just my telephone, I can research anything in the whole world. People back then, 1400 years ago, they have to travel literally weeks and months to obtain one hadith, one piece of knowledge. They didn't have any copying machines at that time, right? No internet, no telephones, and no gadgets. They have to travel so many miles and so many cities to obtain knowledge. Now we have it over here. So we cannot, so anything that we want to know, the answers, if they're asking, then you can do the research, get the answers, increase your database, and then obviously you can get more experience, correct? So there are so many stories with that. Alhamdulillah. There's one more story about the plane. Let me not mention the stories of the plane. There's the brochure. I gave it to someone and they're reading. One more non-Muslim lady up there. MashaAllah, this person. He took Shahada on the plane. Right? This person, I met him and then I invited him. Okay, I have a Jummah khutbah. Why don't you come? He came to the masjid, MashaAllah. After the Jummah khutbah, meeting the Muslims, he said, you guys are doing a good job. He put his hand in the pocket, gave a bunch of cash. This is for you. Right? I mean, not for me, for the masjid, right? Because masjid is doing a good job to bridge the gap. Now, how do you break the ice and start with our conversation? There is no magic wand, right? There's no magic wand. Any situation can be made into a Dawah situation. So what you see over here is an actual picture of me going to McDonald's. All right. So we went there to eat an ice cream cone. So McDonald's is like walking distance from my home. Summertime, took my kids up there, my wife up there, and we were sitting down on this table. So from here came a person and he had a book in his hand. And he sat down kind of on this table right there. I don't know what the book is because I did not open the pages, but from far away I know that book is the Bible. All right, I know the book is the Bible because the way it is bounded, the way the Bible has a different look to it. All right, so I knew that what, this is McDonald's. He came for whatever. I came for ice cream. My children are here. I prayed to Allah. How do I start a Dawah conversation with this person? So this is what happened. We were sitting enjoying the ice cream over here. That person sat right on this table and he started to look at the menu over here, right? So as soon as he turned his face and started looking here, I put the hand in my pocket, I took out a small brochure and I placed it right here on this table, right? Without him looking. Okay? I just sneaked it up there. It's a small card, it's not a big brochure, it's a small card. Then I pretended nothing happened, all right? Nothing happened. So then he looked back and then he was surprised. What is this over here? And he started to read, right? He started to read. Then in a nice soft voice, I looked at him and I said, how are you? What do you think about what you're reading? He said, seems to be interesting, right? And then started the 2-hour conversation. My wife and children, they got so tired because I'm there for 2 hours. They said, we are walking home, you stay here, right? So then what happened was, as we were having the conversation, this person was a pastor and then his students, they walk in and they became part of the conversation. Bottom line is this, Dawah can be done in McDonald's, in the place, anywhere that we want. We need to make the person curious. Something we say, something we do, our appearance sometimes a compliment that we do to them. So based on the situation, the circumstances, the scenario, you can customize what you need to say. Right? So Dawah is easy. That's what I wanted to share, right? So these are the 1-minute small cards that we take out. If anyone would like to get them, you can go to this website. It's cutting off of there, gainpeace.com/brochures. Right? Then after the presentation, I can be there, inshallah. So many places. Right? This is really important for us. Even though the weather is becoming a bit colder, I would still suggest that take like a half an hour walk, 15-minute walk in the neighborhood. Because if we are going to share Islam with the neighbors, we have to engage with them. How do you engage with them? We cannot engage with them if we just stay in our home, from school, from work. We have to be part of the society. So and it's good for health, right? Taking walks. It's also a sunnah to take walks, right? So it's important for us to take walks in the society. So what happened was, there is one more story time for all of us. 7:41. I want to make sure I give enough time for Q&A. So I went out one day to throw garbage. I just don't go out one day, right? I go out quite often, maybe twice a week or once a week at least. So I went out to throw the garbage in the alley. That's where the garbage can is. Received a call from my wife, and she's concerned. Sabeel, where are you? It's been 1 hour. I thought you just went out to throw the garbage. Garbage throwing does not take that long, right? Where are you? I said, yes, I went out to throw the garbage, and then My neighbor who is new, he saw me with the beard and he started asking me questions about Islam. All right. And he became interested. So I told my wife, and I'm just conversing with him, I will be back soon. Right? So then I went home. And next time, maybe a month after that, I again went out, right? I mean, I went out before that too. When I went out again after a month to throw the garbage, from that same home came like a 12-year-old boy, and he approached me and he asked the question. You know, my dad said that if I want to get an English copy of the Quran, I can get it from you. And I said, yes, I can give you a copy. I went home, washed my hands, brought a translation of the Quran and gave it to this boy. Again, I'm saying a mundane activity, throwing garbage, can become a point of Dawah conversation. Right? About 2 months from that time, I had a knock at the door. When I opened the door, it was about 5 p.m., so they were not Jehovah's Witnesses. Right? They don't come at that late. They're not Jehovah's Witnesses. So when I opened the door, there were 2 ladies standing up there. So because if any ladies come in, I had my wife with me. I told her, okay, there's a ladies here. So we asked them the question, okay, welcome, who are you? So they said, so the older lady, she said, I'm the wife of the guy you were speaking in the alley, and this is my niece. She has a project about Islam. She wants to ask some questions, right? So look at this. One encounter by the garbage can, now it's a chain event. So we said, okay, why don't you guys come in? So she had many questions, and then I explained to her, right? I explained to her what Islam is, the history, in the context of other faiths, what is the guidance, what is the salvation. She did not embrace Islam, but at least she got to know what Islam is. So one more thing that we can do is, make rapport with the neighbors, connection with the neighbors, and then invite them to your homes. And sometimes when they see something on the wall, maybe like a calligraphy up there, maybe something about the meat that you're providing, right? You can say, this is Zabihah halal meat. This is very hygienic. This is healthy. This is much tasty than what you can get at Kroger's and Myers and Sam's Club. So start that conversation. Make them curious. Once you make them curious, half of the dawah is done. All of you on the same page? All right, so there are many, many things I'm just skipping. So they are my 2 sons, Yusuf and Ibrahim, knocking at the door, giving them the gifts during the month of Ramadan, right? All right, I want to become a bit creative and come to an important point. Okay, breaking the ice is done. I don't want to do that again. What you're seeing here is actually a 12-week course, intensive course about Dawah. Condense it in 1 hour. This is a challenge, right? So I'm just trying to give like main highlights. So for the youth over here and also for the parents, what I would suggest is to make ourselves strong in our faith and active in our faith. There are 3 important steps that we need to take. There are many, many steps. One step would be making sure that we as parents and all the youth who are sitting here, we need to know what is the evidence for the truth of Islam. Knowing the evidence will give us that more confidence is Islam is true. So evidence for the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, evidence for how to prove that Quran is the word of Allah, evidence that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was indeed a true prophet. Right? All of these evidences, once we know it and once we share it with our youth, our iman would be strong. And if a person asks a question in the schools and colleagues and neighborhood, now we can confidently share with them. So that would be the first important step for all of us. In this today 1 hour session, in the Q&A, I can bring up some, but it's important that the common questions that people may be asking, top 50 questions. We need to know it, we need to memorize it, we need to practice it, and then we need to keep on sharing it. So that's step number 1. Step number 2 would be the common allegations that non-Muslims that they have about against Islam, Muslims, the Quran, and about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So if I'm going to ask you this question, what would be some of the common allegations people may have? What would you say? Based upon your knowledge of social media, Islamophobes, what would you say? Anyone from this side over here? Go ahead, there are so many, billions of them. Just shoot out maybe 2, 3, 4. No? You don't think they have any misconceptions about the marriages of Prophet Muhammad? Yes? You think that is? Okay, tell me some more.
People say that we worship the black box.
Yeah, people think when we are praying towards the Kaaba, they think we are worshipping it, and this is kind of analogous to an idol, right? Okay, fine. So that is one thing we need to clear. What else? The youth sitting over here, right? What questions that non-Muslims may have about Islam? What would you say?
Jihad.
Jihad, right? There we go. Now it's coming, right? Now it's coming, right? Okay, what else?
We worship the moon.
Moon, okay. They used to say that long time ago, like in the 90s, but refutation. Yeah, they say that moon god, right? They say moon god. And when they see all of these Chand Sitara or the crescent moon on their masajis, they think, there you go, you guys worship the moon god, right? So things of this nature, maybe top 10, top 20, top 50, not only we should know the allegations, we should have for convincing responses to clear up those allegations and to invite them. So that will come over here, right? And I will also place over here the common allegations, the atheists that they have. They may think the world came about by itself. They may think life came about by itself. So we need to give them convincing responses, saying that if you take any field of science, biology, biochemistry, and physics and cosmology, any field, every single field of science points towards God. So there is a 10-week course that I do just on how to give Dawah to an atheist. It goes over all the details. So one time we can do that over here, inshallah, right? In this budget. So what I'm saying is, how about the arguments that the LGBTQ plus people have? We need to have convincing responses to them from a psychological, spiritual, medical, physiological, right? Any which point of view, our responses should be much stronger than anything that they can bring. So what I'm saying is, we as Muslims, we have lots of homework to do. And the good news is this is the most resourceful society in the history of humanity. So one task item that I want to give to the youth over here, right, and the youth up here, and also all to every single adult. See, in life, we need to have a bigger, higher, greater vision than just working 9 to 5, or just having families, or just having a good home. All of them, we have to do it anyway. However, every single one of us should have a greater, bigger, higher vision in life. And that vision in life is that, take one area of Islamic activism. For example, one of you can say, you know what, youth are having problems. I want to specialize in the problems of the youth. If these are the 10 areas of their doubts that they have, let me compile convincing answers. Let me train the youth. Let me make videos. Let me compose literature. Let me multiply many speakers so they can also all over, right? So every single person should specialize and they can produce the contents in the team. So in that way, once we specialize, we should be the expert in that field. So by becoming an expert, that's when we can leave the biggest legacy, right? And the last thing every single person would be, we have to train ourselves and our youth that knowledge is not the by itself the destination. Knowledge is a step towards activism. So if I have 24 hours or set number of hours, I would spend 10% or 10 hours in gaining knowledge and 90% in using the knowledge in making myself and the society better. Right now, it's the other way around, right? We have made knowledge as our destination. Keep on taking course after course, specializing in it. Right? All the, all the words and the root words, keep on doing that. But that itself is not the destination. It's a step towards a destination. So if we do these 3 steps, inshallah, our youth, ourselves, not only they're empowered, they're confident, and they're active, following the Quran and the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, inshallah. All right, really quickly. This is the month of Rabi'ul, right? If I had to do one more khutbah over here, I will do the khutbah on this topic. And the topic is this: suppose if I ask you this question, okay, tell me some of the sunnahs of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what will come to your mind? Anyone? Go ahead. Fine, smiling, mashallah, I love that. Okay, what else? Yes. To walk to the masjid, mashallah, right? So many sins are forgiven with every single step. What else? What about something about eating?
Eating sweets.
Somebody likes sweets over here. Let's go for ice cream at McDonald's, right? You said? Eating minimally, right? Saying Bismillah, sitting down, eating with the right hand. All of these comes to our mind right away when we think about Sunnah. But what I want to share with you is, the very first generation of the Muslims, they knew that that was the Sunnah, but they knew that Sunnah is much more dynamic and it's not limited to what we usually think of. So just to make sure that Sunnah is so dynamic, I have an acronym, and but the Irfan may be thinking, man, every single thing has an acronym over here, right? If you think of a rose and petals, every single word of the letter of the word petals becomes one Sunnah. For example, having excellent project management skills is part of the Sunnah. When the Prophet, peace be upon him, when he went from Makkah to Medina, it was an excellent example of project management. The day of the week, the time of the day, the companion that he took, which route he took, how long he stayed in the cave, who is going to bring him the nourishment, the ride he took, and how long before reaching Medina, where he's going to stay, masjid that he's going to build. Even before he went to Medina, he prepared the da'is who went there and educated the people. It's an excellent example of project management. So one of the sunnahs of the Prophet, peace be upon him, is to have excellent project management skills. Right? So the E stands for, somebody said ice cream, right? Or sweets, that's for you. The E stands for exercising and eating right. Yeah? Exercising is so important. Eating right is so important. It is part of the sunnah. It's not, okay, you know what? The current 21st century gurus and the exercise and the eating fad. No. Islam is the pioneer. The Prophet was the most fittest person. And used to, mashallah, used to have a moderation in eating. How much to eat? How much to chew, right? Slowly, not like gulping down. I mean, whole lecture can be given. What I'm saying is, what you eat, how much to eat is also as much part of the sunnah as much as eating with the right hand saying Bismillah. The T stands for time management. This is part of the sunnah to have good time management skills. It's not like the secular world, okay, they teach time management. Islam teaches us time management, and we can learn obviously from the seerah and also from anyone else. A stands for acquiring knowledge. As we know that the very first word that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed, which one was the very first word? Iqra, right? Yes. Read, recite. And there are so many Quranic ayahs and so many hadiths speaking about the importance, obligation of gaining knowledge. So Muslims, when we had the empowerment with knowledge, we were the pioneers in making hospitals, pharmacies, right? And colleges and campuses all over the world. We were the pioneers when it comes to medicine, physics, chemistry, mathematics. We were the pioneers. We were the catalyst to the Renaissance. So acquiring knowledge and using it the best way. PETA, the L stands for having leadership skills. Right now I'm doing a 10-week course on leadership skills. So on behalf of ICNA, we have a National Dawah Academy. Maybe I can send a link later on, and we can either do a customized course for the masjid, or those interested, they can join the courses which are already going on, right? So in that way, inshallah, we can all benefit. And one of my most favorites is speaking skills, right? So paddles, speaking skills, or the communication skills. So communication skills is not only what you say, it also is what you should not say, right? You all agree with that? So went to New York, Brother Khan, went to Brother Shahid Faruqi in one of the masajids in New York. Gave the Jummah khutbah, led the prayer, and I was coming out with my host, Brother Shahid. And we were on the sidewalk about to go to the parking lot. And then a non-Muslim lady, she came and she said, were you the one giving the Friday sermon? I said, yes, how can I help you? She said, I have a few questions. I am a neighbor. First time I came to the mosque to learn about Islam. And she started asking simple questions. I responded to her for about maybe 15 to 18 minutes. And then she said, I like what I hear. I'm ready to embrace Islam. I said, Allahu Akbar, right? So she was about to take the Shahada, and then there was a person standing next, when people, they look around, right? The Muslims, out of curiosity, what's going on here? So a brother who was next to me, before she took the Shahada, he said, stop before you take the Shahada. Because once you come to Islam, you cannot go back, because if you do, this will happen to you. Right? Can you imagine that? We were brother, what are you saying? What are you doing? And then there's good communication skills means using wisdom, saying what you need to say, avoiding what you should not say. And obviously, that's not the right time, place, and purpose. And you're wondering, right? What happened to that lady? She took Shahada. Right? We're lucky for safe, we're lucky for guided. Right? So when we think of Sunnah, it's much more dynamic. It's not limited to only narrow thing that we have made it to be as. So if we want to appreciate Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it is not the celebrations that we do. We have to be like him or learn the lessons from him. He was the most dynamic. He was the most impactful, the best time manager, the best project manager, the best speaker, the best leader, and we can learn the lessons and follow that example. That's the best way we can show the love for the Prophet, peace be upon him, inshallah. Now, I think 2018, I'm not sure if I showed this. Suppose if someone asks you the question, I only have 3 minutes, if they say, or 2 minutes. If you have a Dawah booth, or if they come tomorrow, right? MashaAllah, we have open house. I hope all of you are bringing your non-Muslim contacts. If they come one-to-one, if they ask you the question, okay, tell me briefly, I'm hearing so many things about Islam. Tell me briefly what Islam is. Many things will come to our mind. Should we say something about the Prophet, peace be upon him? Should we say about reply to the allegations people have about Islam? Many things come to our mind. So what to say, where to start, where to finish, what structure we should go, what steps we should take. It's a simple formula. All right? It's easy for you to remember, inshallah. Okay, what do you think OMG stands for? Yeah, oh my God, right? Yes, there you go. You guys know it. So this OMG, okay, so if you remember OMG, add 5 to it, HI, right? Easy. OMG, HI. So if someone asks you the question, just remember OMG high. Every single letter now becomes a point.
I think you have said
that. Now I can quiz you. All right. All right. Even if you know it, it's a refresher for us. So the O stands for the oneness of Allah. Any Dawah conversation has to be centered around Tawheed, around the oneness of Allah, and every single point should be attached to it. M. Okay, what do you think M can stand for? Muslim, okay, fine, but I think Muslim also. Messengers, right? So what I say to them is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to guide humanity, He did not came down and became a human, but from the humans He chose prophets and messengers. And they came with one consistent message, which is to invite humanity to Allah. Submission to Allah in Arabic is Islam. That was the message of every single prophet, every single messenger. So OMG. What do you think, guys? Come on. What do you think G may stand for? All of you remember from last time, right? Guidance from the Quran and the authentic Sunnah. So if I'm conversing with an African American brother or sister on the Dawah table, for example, I will emphasize Islamic solutions against racism, systemic racism, equality of all of humanity. If I'm conversing with some other person, right, based on, suppose if I'm in Norway, I will speak about how Islam gives hope against the people committing suicide, frustration, depression. So based on the person, I can extract those solutions and their guidance, and then I will supply G, right? What do you think OMGH? Remember OMGH, right? HI. What do you think H may stand for? Help you. But that one you are there. Come on, go for it. No, 4 years is too long, right? We should do it every year. You have the life of this world, then you have the life of H stands for hereafter. Over there, I will give the example or the analogy. You know, when we go to schools, the teacher does the final grading, right? At the end of the whole semester, based upon the attendance policy, participation, quizzes, and exams, everything combined. At the end of the semester, there is an evaluation. So I would say to a non-Muslim person, our grand evaluation would be on the day of judgment, based upon how we live this life. You can say more details to it. Okay, fine. So that is H. What do you think I will stand for, right? OMGHI. MashaAllah, right? Well, the whole thing stands for Islam, right? Take one more guess. Anyone? Now you remember MashaAllah.
2018 notes.
And I'm impressed you have notes from, 4 years ago, mashallah. So they may be thinking, you know what, it makes sense, there is only one God. It makes sense, messengers, they were consistent with one belief. Makes sense, guidance has to be comprehensive, complete, practical, beneficial. It makes sense. There has to be accountability. And they may be thinking, what should I do next? That's when you invite the person. Remember that ayah which I mentioned? Invite all to the way of Allah with wisdom and good preaching, right? To invite the person. Any question or comment on this? When is the hard stop for us? Tell me, Brother Mohammed Amjad.
I mean, we have Isha 8:30, but we can push a little bit and maybe do question answer after Isha.
I will try to have it before Isha too. Right? Okay, so let me just run over, just like you have OMG high, I want to just show like maybe few other such acronyms. So once you memorize it, guys, especially, right? Try to memorize it, even if you have to take a snapshot of it, you could, right? You could, and then try to practice it with your family and those friends of yours who may not be here. Try to practice, and then when opportunity comes in, then you guys can share it, right? Inshallah. And a project for all of you would be try to make such acronyms. Try to make Islam learning as fun. It is, mashallah, right? It's about being, it's full of guidance. Okay, done with the Photoshop of that. Let's move, inshallah. If someone asks you about who is your prophet, tell me something more about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's not easy to get the headset. You have any hands up, maybe?
Yeah.
So, if someone asks you about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then I would remember the word prophet. Right? God. So I would remember the word prophet. So the word P stands for is a prophet of Allah. Can you hear in the back? That he's a prophet of Allah. So you can say, it's a bigger question. So you can say that he's a prophet of Allah. So the P stands for the prophet. And then you can say he's the last in the chain of prophets. Jesus was a prophet, and then you can mention other prophets. Right? The R stands for is a role model for humanity. O stands for, then you can go over the history, right? That he was an orphan, he preached for 13 years. Uh, he migrated, right, to Hijrah, and then established the Islamic State, and he was a timeless example that time until the end of humanity in every single facet of life. For every single one, you can give more examples, some excellent interactions that he had with the people around him, right? So that is how I go over about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I can quiz you guys, right? Later on. Yeah? You guys will be ready? If someone asks you about what is the Quran, you may not be able to read. I would say Quran is miracle, or it's a combination of miracles. And every single letter of the miracles becomes a point. You're not able to read it, let me make it correct. M stands for the maker, the author's name is mentioned in the Quran. The reason I mention this is because the Bible, New Testament does not say this book, this passage, or this chapter is from God. The Quran says it. That itself is not, because it seems like a circular argument. Anyone can write a book, but at least the name of the author is mentioned. So I stands for it is infallible. It does not have any mistakes in it. Right? R stands for it retains purity. Quran has not been changed. Memorize, Allah is protecting it. Right? Surah 15, ayah number 9. It is Allah who has revealed this message, and He's protecting it. A stands for it has advanced knowledge or prophecies in it. C stands for complete guidance. L stands for the linguistic miracle of the Quran. You know all the challenges that they are there. That is the linguistic miracle. And the S stands for the scientific facts in the Quran. Now, E stands for easy to remember. S stands for the scientific facts. Any question, comment on that? What I'm saying is, any difficult concept or any important evidence you want to share, you can make something like that. It will be easy for our children also to know, memorize, and to share. All right. Anyone ask about Prophet Jesus, peace be upon him? What should come to your mind should be the word Jesus, right? J-E-S-U-S. So the J stands for Jesus was just a messenger. Many Quranic ayahs mention that. E stands for he was empowered by Allah to do the miracles. So if I'm going to ask you this question, can you recall any miracle mentioned about Jesus, peace be upon him, in the Quran, not mentioned in the Bible? Anyone? He was able to give life to the dead. It's mentioned in the Bible. Yes. You know, he raised Lazarus. Right? Anyone know the story of Lazarus? He was died like many days, and by the power of Allah, Isa salam brought him back to life. This is from the Bible, right? Okay, what other miracles are there about Isa salam in the Quran, not in the Bible? Yeah, there we go. He spoke when he was just a baby, right? Maybe a few days old, and made birds of flame used to fly off, correct? So you can mention that, but the biggest point you want to mention is every single miracle is not coming from you, coming from Allah. That's important. And if you know comparative religion, you can give some evidence also from the Bible that Jesus did not have any power. His power is coming from Allah. Like John chapter 5, verse number 30, it says, I of myself, I cannot do anything. Whatever I hear, I judge. The judgment is true because I seek not my own will, but the will of God who sent me. Right? This is the Bible. S stands for the sole mission is to invite others to the Creator. U stands for he was uplifted, he was not killed, he was not crucified. And the S stands for the second coming of Jesus, peace be upon him. Right? Simple, right? Someone asks you about Jesus, think about Jesus. J-E-S-U-S. About Mary, Maryam alayhi salam. Someone asks you about her, remember the word Mary, right? M-A-R-Y. M stands for Mother of Jesus, mentioned this many times and mentioned on Surah number 19, right? So reminder. A stands for Allah's worship is the goal of the life. R stands for she recognized by Allah as the chosen over all other women. Surah 3, ayah number 42. She was young, she was virgin when she gave birth to Isa. Okay, so many more such like that. Let me end, but I want to take some questions, inshallah, right? Someone asked me the question in your home today, right? What do you think of when you wake up in the morning? I say before waking up, many a times I do have sleepless nights. You see the graves up there, the graveyard, that's not because of the Halloween, right? Not because of Halloween. Every single year in this country, 2 million people, they die each year. And we should be having sleepless nights because if any one of them appeals to Allah on the day of judgment, that there were like 5 to 7 million Muslims. Some of them were my IT professional colleagues, and my physicians were doctors, right? Neighbors, friends in the schools and colleges. They used to be with us for many years, but they failed to mention to us about Islam. About if we keep on believing Christianity, we are heading towards hellfire. They did not enlighten us, they did not warn us, they did not pull us out from the darkness, they did not provide solutions. Even though they had the solutions, it would be a really concerning day for us on the day of judgment. 2 million people. And what keeps me going, right, is this story. Went to Louisville, not this year, not last year, maybe 4 years ago, in my visit to Louisville. They had a masjid open house. And before the masjid open house, on the day of the open house, we were arranging the chairs, right? Just like we will do today or tomorrow. If you need help, let them know, right? There are so many youths here, mashallah. We were arranging the chairs, the tables, the projector, the banners, the whole thing. And this brother, he approached me, Muslim brother, right? Because it's a masjid. And he said, Brother Sabeel, there is an important interaction that happened between a Muslim brother and some guests that came to him. I became curious, why are you bringing at this one? He said, it's important for you to know. So he said, the Muslim family, they got a knock at their door. And when they opened the door, it was Saturday morning. When they opened the door, there were 2 well-dressed people standing right in front of the door. If I ask you the question, who do you think these people were? Yes, this time they were Jehovah's Witnesses. Right? They were Jehovah's Witnesses. So this Muslim brother, he became so excited. Now I can share my message. With full passion, with full dedication, for half an hour passed by, he was sharing and they were sharing. He was supplying the answers, asking questions. They were giving the answers. They were asking questions. Half an hour, 45, 1 hour passed by. Full passion, the Muslim brother. Then they asked him a question. The Jehovah's Witnesses, the Christians, or the Bible believers. They asked him a question, and he became speechless. All the passion, it just went down like this. If I were in that situation, I may also be speechless. But you may be thinking, okay, Brother Sabeel, what is that question that they asked that we Muslims, we will become speechless? What is that question? Is it about jizya, sharia, female slaves, right? Jihad, women in Islam? What can be the question that they ask and Muslims don't have the answer or the proper response? This is what they ask this person. If you are so passionate about sharing your message, look at you. You spent 1 hour with us, right? You were so excited. You had so many evidences for the truth of your faith. How come you are home and we are the ones outside sharing our message? How come you are home with your Islam, with all your passion? You are inside, we are the ones out. Rain or shine or snow, whatever weather, we are out. Not only in this country, all the countries of the world, we are the ones out. If you think your faith is right, how come you are home? We are the ones out sharing our message. So it's not about how much we know, what knowledge we have, the dedication, the passion that they have. forget about them, right? Prophet had, the Sahaba that they had. We need to also instill that in ourselves, our children. If we don't do it, unfortunately, right, all the harms may happen. Allah protect from all of that. Dawah is easy. Let me wrap up. Allah has given us the best deen. This is the only deen given to every prophet, every single messenger. If we don't convey the message, if we don't share, if we don't live, if we don't practice, Allah may replace us with somebody else who will do it. And they will get the reward. We have to stand in front of Allah. But the good news is this. If we do fulfill the obligation, inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give us the honor, the prestige, the success, the reward, right? And the best reward would be Jannat al-Firdaus. So I hope and pray that Allah make it easy for us, so we can, inshallah, realize the important honor obligation and become ambassadors of Islam to all of humanity. Jazakallahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. We have a few minutes Q&A. We can still come back after Isha for the more Q&A.
Inshallah, Isha is at 8:30. We have 15 minutes, so the mic is with sisters right now. We can have some questions, and then if we have more questions, we can stay back after Isha. Inshallah, follow. So if sisters have any question, please ask.
What would you recommend to a college student that's in an environment that's not conducive to Islam, that's not even conducive to the idea of a God existing? Because I'm a grad student at UC, and all my professors, most of my professors, don't believe in God. And that is the environment that's being spread in these colleges. How would you start talking about that, where people have just stepped away from religion altogether?
Okay, Jazakallah khairan, brother. Sister, that's a good question. And that's the challenge. When I was in school and then in college, I also faced the same thing. When I took the philosophy class, that's one of the most dangerous classes ever. Biology class, evolution class, right? Even medical school classes. These are dangerous classes because they remove Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the picture and they propose with convincing evidence from their side that yes, there is no creator, everything came about by itself. The whole universe, the whole life, evolution is true. So we need to empower ourselves and our youth, at least to protect ourselves, right? So that's phase number one. Phase number two would be, now we need to package that message, that education, with the people, starting may not be with the professors right away, but we need to build a rapport with our own fellow classmates, and then we need to share with them that, this course of biology that we are taking, abiogenesis is not possible. Right? So we need to show them with evidence all the gaps in evolution, for example, or at least the way that they are proposing it. So we need to empower ourselves with knowledge and at least protect ourselves. And then with more confidence, then we can share it. But on top of it, what I would say is, try to join an MSA. If there is no MSA, let us know, we can help you get started. So have like-minded people. So create a team in there that is going to help us stay in Islam by having study circle, educational forums, right? All of these, and obviously praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these are some of the many things that we can do as college students. Irfan bhai, why don't you come here? I want him to ask.
I wanted to suggest, because the question has been asked, could you give us 2-3 points how to handle it? Yeah, so we need to learn about atheism or evolution, but what are the gaps that we have?
Oh, what are the gaps, right? Well, okay.
Yeah, let's equip ourselves today.
Sure. Okay, so one important point. So what they say, the atheists, is that life happened by chance. So let's take that scenario, right? What they say is that there is no God, life started just by itself. So I will give them this simple thought experiment. I will say to them, suppose now it's summer. If we go out, is there a close by beach here? I'm not sure. No, you have to go to Chicago to Lake Michigan. 6 hour, 5 hour drive. Okay, fine. You come to Lake Michigan, right? There's a good family areas up there. If you come there and if you see on the sand, written there, right? What's your name? It says up there, okay, Rehan was here. Rehan was here with his family, October so and so, and he had a good time. If I see that, if you see that, you're not going to say, you know what, wonderful nature. It is saying something about Rehan and his family. You don't say that right away. What you think is, you know, a person named Rehan with an intelligent person came with his family. Because that is not a pattern, that is information. So I would say that information only comes from intelligence. For example, you know, the computer programming, the zeros and the ones and the computer code. If you see something like that, you know it's a computer programmer. If you see a book, the letter sentences, you know it's an author. If you see some radio frequency, you know there's a source, intelligent source for it. So whenever you see information, it comes from intelligence. So now let's come to the biological science, right? There are many physicians over here. If you take one cell, and if you put that cell into a high-powered electron microscope, you will see many parts in it, many organelles in it, right? One of them is the nucleus. Inside the nucleus, you have 23 pairs of chromosomes, many thousands of genes in there. If you write that information from the chromosomes which are in the nucleus in the forms of books, you need to have like 900 books, 500 pages thick each book, like the size of Harry Potter. All right, that much information from one single cell. So the premise is information only comes from intelligence. So we should ask the atheist, who gave that much information of 900 books, 500 pages thick each book? It cannot be nature, because nature cannot give even one page, one sentence, right? Or one book. But 900 books, if it's not nature, it has to be something supra-nature, which we say is the creator of the universe. In the same way, we can give evidence from physics, from cosmology, right? From intelligent design, so many different ways. So that will be one evidence which I give. Go ahead, other questions? No.
Assalamualaikum, brother. And Jazakallah khair for being here today. That was very lovely. And I commend your energy, your enthusiasm, and your optimism, and your spirit. Alhamdulillah. I'll give you my question first and give you a little background while you think about it. My question is, for the general audience, what you think is the most important qualities, the character traits of someone going out into public and doing dawah? Obviously, you're very enthusiastic, you're very outgoing, you have a lot of very good, high quality energy. And I think that's very important. And I know when, as an American convert, one of the questions I get a lot is, why am I Muslim? And sometimes it depends. I usually turn the question around. I use their own curiosity against them, and I say, well, what do you know about Islam? Or why are you asking me that? So that I can understand what they already know, and I can use that to help me frame what I'm going to say to them. But in terms of quality character traits, I always refer back to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, because he wasn't just Muslim. He was a living example of the Quran. And so when I heard the sister's question, the first thing that came to mind, and why I'm asking you the question so you can share your opinion with everyone, is that Islam means peace. So in the sense that it means peace, when we go out into the world and we are at peace with ourselves and with the things around us, it shows. And it generates curiosity for them. And I think curiosity as a character trait is good. And again, asking them the question back to them that they ask to us helps us to start where they are. So what do you think are the most important qualities, the character traits that someone needs? Because I think humility fits in there too, and peace. But I would like your opinion.
Welcome to Islam, mashallah. It's a blessing, right? It's an honor, mashallah. I would say that the number one trait, right, based upon my humble study of the Sirah and all the prophets, by the way, is that the credibility and the integrity that the Prophet had, peace be upon him. See, even before he was appointed as a prophet, at the age of 40, he was known as a Sadiq and Alamin, the truthful and the honest. He was the most credible person. When he went to Mount Safa and asked people the question, if I said to you there's an army behind this mountain, what did they say? They believed in it, correct? He had the credibility. When he came, and Khadija Radiallahu Ta'ala, she tried to console the Prophet because he was kind of stressed out. He was thinking, what's going on? She consoled him by saying, Allah is not going to disown you because of all the ways that you're helping the people. He had that credibility. When they had the dispute, the tribes, who's going to put the black stone back to its place? And they were joyous when they saw the Prophet coming, right? Even before he was a prophet. So having credibility, I think, is the number one attribute that a Da'i should have. Just today we were having a conversation. Where's that brother? He was sitting up here, right? In your home, you were having the conversation, and then that brother's son, 14 years of age, he was comparing the Quran with the Bible, and then he read the stories of the prophets described in the Bible, and how they were committing all of these major sins, but the Bible attributes. And then he read the Quran corrects it. Quran elevates and honors the prophets. So every prophet, every messenger, they were the most credible, they were the role models of the society. So I would say that will be the number one attribute. And obviously having hikmah, having patience, having smile, as Rehan mentioned, right? Humility is very important. Going out of the way to help the neighbors. So I would say, yes, read the Quran obviously, but read the seerah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yes, and whether Irfan want to say something, yes, please.
The first sister asked a question about atheism. I wanted to add something.
Please come on.
That's not what I do. Okay, so I have been involved in Dawah, not as much as Sabeel, but I have yet to meet a pure, absolute atheist. Usually when people say, I don't believe in God, they believe in something. They will say, I believe in nature, or I believe in some power. So I tell them that nature, that power, I thought I was loud enough. So I tell them that power, that nature, whatever you're calling it, is God. We differ in our attributes. To them, it's just a power, undefined. To us, we have about 99 or 100 attributes. That's where we differ. So whenever you come across an atheist, ask them, what do you mean? There is absolutely nothing that is behind this design, or if there is something, then we talk about it. And we use for a class.
Yes, so we can take a break, and we will come back after the Isha because 8:30 is the prayer. So you can do the wudu if you need to. Then if you want to stay here, I will be here inshallah. And any question that you have regarding Dawah, inshallah, I will try my best. With the Irfan who came with me, we will try our best. Jazakallahu khairan, subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik, wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa nastaghfiruka. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Just a reminder again, in order we have open house, please come again with your neighbors, co-workers, anybody who has a question about being and want to know about it. Okay.